So my car has had a check engine light ever since I've owned the car. Now the 15610 light are pretty common in these, especially any of these cars that have aftermarket exhaust, or in my case turbos. Now originally mine had a bad O2 sensor, but I swapped that out and put one from an Audi R8, the V10, and that got rid of the misfire and the car drove pretty well for a while, but then the issue came back. So I went ahead and went back with OEM, and the check engine light was still there, but the misfire was still there. So lately I got a little determined on, one, tracking down the misfire obviously, and two, just completely getting rid of the light once and for all. So when I pulled everything apart though, I noticed they had spliced some wires. Now they had spliced some wires with a voltage clamp. So looking into it, it wasn't odd at first because a lot of turbo cars use voltage clamps to prevent fuel cut. But as I started tracking down the wire that ran from the O2 into the ECU, I realized what they actually had done is spliced into the O2 sensor, the upstream one. So I got a little confused on why. Here's what a voltage clamp is, by the way. And what they did is they spliced into, you can see the blue wires there that have the tape on them. And there's a yellow wire over here as well. And what's confusing is, so I went through luckily I had a pinout of the ECU, and I also found the company's voltage clamp and how they say to wire it in. And the odd thing is the wire that should go to power, they wired it into the negative of the O2. And then they wired in the inputs kind of how they should have been, and the negative to the negative. What I think maybe whoever did this originally had in mind is, I think maybe they had the 1.5 light, and possibly it was because of the bad O2, but maybe they didn't realize that the O2 sensor was bad. So what I think they tried to do was, first they tried to tune it out, and then when they couldn't tune it out, they spliced this in hopes of getting rid of it. That didn't work either, obviously, because not only was it wired incorrectly, that wasn't the issue, and then I think maybe they just gave up. But either way, I finally figured it out. The check engine light is now officially gone, and the car runs perfect. So from here, we're going to move on to the next set of modifications. What I would like to do is get my methanol injection back up and in the car. For that, I think I'm going to leave the original methanol injection system in there because it's a really good one. And then what I'm going to do is probably just add another tank, and then I'm going to have to redo some wiring and stuff. But I think that's what our next plan is going to be. And then once the methanol and stuff is back in here, I'm considering adding a second map. I know in the past this car's made over 1,000 at the wheels. I would kind of want another second map to go back to that power. Right now it's around 800, and that's pretty streetable. The car hooks really well, and it seems to be really healthy at that horsepower, and I don't want to get rid of that, and I don't want to get rid of the reliability, but it would be nice to have a second map just to kick that horsepower up a little bit more. This car does have a fully built bottom end, so it can handle the 1,000 horsepower, and I would really like to see what that looks like.